Good afternoon, Norman. Thanks for joining us.
Coming up, the third part in our three-part series on euthanasia.
And a job program has been extended to the year 2000.
Hardly a cloud in the sky and the temperatures are on the rise. How far will they go? I'll have that for you in about 10 minutes.
And the Oklahoma baseball team finished a 3-game series against Missouri. Details are in sports.
News, weather, and sports.
All headed your way right now on Norman Today. Good afternoon, Norman. Thanks for joining us. I'm Faith Johnson.
And I'm Robbie Gunn. More than 800 documents tobacco industry lawyers claimed were confidential must be produced. District Judge William Hetherington says the documents were released to a congressional committee and published on the internet and lost their confidential status. The lawsuits are an effort to replace millions of dollars the states say they have spent on treating tobacco-related illnesses. Several states have reached agreements with the industry. Oklahoma's case has a tentative November trial date. The lawsuit alleges the tobacco companies misled the public on the dangers of tobacco products. City Manager Ron Wood will not be leaving Norman to become Waco City Manager. Wood says he was not actively seeking the job, but a firm told him he was compatible for the position. Wood was one of the original candidates for the job in Waco. Wood says new Mayor Bob Thompson is an asset to staying in Norman.
Public opinions vary on the topic of euthanasia. People deal with the choice on personal levels in Part 3 of The Right to Die. The subject of euthanasia is debated on ethical and religious grounds. Medical doctor Steve Smith says that no one should have control over ending life.
No man, priest, anyone has the right to terminate a life in that type of setting, whether it's terminally ill or whether it's just really depressed or in constant pain.
Chaplain Harry Moore says the ethical standpoint is contradictive.
Some of the ethical principles of even of medicine, to do no harm. Are you doing harm when you continue to prolong someone's life who continues to suffer?
Euthanasia is an issue many people have mixed feelings about. It not only affects people physically, but mentally, spiritually, and emotionally as well.
I don't think that's much of a life, not being able to function without a machine. Plus the family and friends that I have, I don't think that I would want them to see me suffer like that. I have more dignity for myself.
My uncle died of leukemia, and he suffered horrible. And he was afraid that if he took his own life, that his family's benefits would be taken away because of suicide. But he suffered horribly.
Life is priceless, and so therefore I'm against any type of termination of life because of its value.
Euthanasia remains a controversy. Those who oppose it say that God begins and ends life. Those in favor say it's up to the individual. Faith Johnson, Norman Today. Chaplain Harry Moore says the best thing to do is talk to your friends and family now and let them know what your wishes are.
The Job Training Partnership Act program that helps train struggling moms, young adults, and the unemployed will continue to operate in Cleveland County through the year 2000. JTPA Administrator Joan Barker tells Norman Today's Cornelia Dixon what the program does in this county.
The Job Training Partnership Act program will continue to provide training programs in Cleveland County through the year 2000.
The JTPA program provides employment and training services for residents in Cleveland County that either meet certain income guidelines or are dislocated workers. Has remained
the JTPA program currently has more than 600 people enrolled in its program. The program pays for tuition and books for adults seeking VOTEC or community college training.
The Job Training Placement Act program is approved to operate in Cleveland County through the year 2000. This is a federally funded program to help young adults and the unemployed in finding employment.
About 30% of JTPA clients finish their schooling and move into the workforce.
We have contracts with Vocational Technical System, the community colleges, OU. We've had everything from nursing to engineering to some of the trades, electricians.
Federal funding is expected to decline 4 to 6% for this program. That will mean that JTPA will reach fewer people next year. Cornelia Dixon, Norman Today.
JTPA falls under the Cleveland County Workforce Development Board and is looking at implementing the Welfare to Work program in affiliation with the Department of Labor. Top leaders in the Oklahoma House Senate agreed Wednesday to spend $63 million for a state employee pay package and teacher benefits. The agreement includes $40 million for a pay raise for more than 37,000 state employees and $14.8 million to pay for a deferred compensation program in which the state provides funds to match employee contributions. House Speaker Lloyd Benson said the details of the plan will be worked out by a House-Senate committee. Governor Frank Keating vetoed a bill Wednesday that requires coverage of severe mental illnesses by health insurance companies. Keating said he vetoed Senate Bill 1059 because the mandate will drive up the cost of health insurance. The bill required that lifetime and annual limits for mental health benefits mirror those of physical ailments. Mental conditions covered under the legislation included schizophrenia and manic depressive illness. A new study recommends Oklahoma City spend $75 million to expand the terminal at Will Rogers World Airport. The money will be used to improve passenger services, including parking. The 10-month study showed a need for an additional 200,000 square feet of terminal area and 9 more terminal gates. The ticket area in the existing terminal will remain intact except for the repositioning of the outer doors to create more room in the main lobby. Robert Potter is in the Weather Center putting the final touches on the forecast. Robert?
Right now the temperatures are starting to creep up in the upper 70s. We might see some middle 80s, and there is a chance of rain for that weekend. I'll have that for you in about 2 minutes.
Heaven's thunder when the nation calls. You can make a difference and be a part of it all. If you're able to pay the price, you can. Willing to sacrifice, you can. Adventure, helping, service in the Army National Guard, you can.
Find yourself in the Army National Guard, serving 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, and you'll find an extra paycheck, money for college, and all the adventure you can handle. It's a great way to serve your country and community. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD.
If you're ready to pass the test, you can. An American at your best, you can. Adventure, helping, service in the Army National Guard. In the Army National Guard, you can.
It's only a little motor oil.
What difference is one drop of paint gonna make?
This much fertilizer isn't gonna pollute anything.
You're looking at a sea of excuses, created drop by people like you and me. Our waters can be saved if each of us does their part. Drop by drop. If we all do a little, we can do a lot. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Defense Council, the EPA, and the Ad Councils of the U.S. and Japan.
My son Daku was riding a motorcycle when he was struck by a car. I had spoken to him previously about donating his organs, and it made it so much easier for me to make the decision. I knew that this is something that he wanted. I didn't have to feel guilty about making the decision, doing something that he may not have wanted. Every day I tell people, talk it over. You must let people know what you want.
Well, Robert, the weather is sure a lot nicer toward the end of the week.
Yeah, we started out in the 50s on Monday, and if you can believe this, we're talking about 30-degree difference between that then and now. We're thinking about going into the 80s. So right now, we're already up to a temperature of 66 degrees. The humidity is 39%. Pressure is 30.20 and is steady with a high pressure system standing right over us. And the winds are much lighter today. Southwest is 7, but that will be on the increase as we move in towards the weekend. Okay, the average high is 74 and 51. Yesterday we saw 69 and 44, about 5 degrees below that. The record highs was 89 in 1989 and 33, getting pretty close to that freezing mark back in 1909. Okay, for today, what we're looking at is a low pressure system that extends up here off the coast of New England. Counterclockwise flow around us is bringing the Atlantic moisture down towards the Carolinas, giving them some rain. And out to our west, this is our next weather maker, low pressure center from Idaho down to California. This is going to be scooting off to the east, giving us a chance of severe weather for Saturday. But right now, we're just seeing temperatures really start to increase. With the Gulf moisture, it's starting to pump back up, bringing the 80s all the way into Canada. Down in Yuma, Arizona yesterday saw 102 degrees. They're going to be in the upper 90s again today. The only really cool spots is in the northwest in the 60s and the rain-cooled air in the 50s down towards the southeast. Okay, the highs around Oklahoma look to be Enid 76, Ponca City 75, Tulsa 75 as well. Down to our south, they're going to see temperatures in the upper 70s, while to our north, they're going to see temperatures in the mid-70s, with Norman being in the middle around 77 degrees. Out to the west, though, 84 degrees up in Guyman. They will go all the way down to 42 tonight. The reason Guyman has such a fluctuation is because they have much less humidity out there, allowing the temperature to come up and go down much more through the day and night. In the northern parts of our state, we're going to see lower 50s with Enid 50, Ponca City 51, Tulsa 51, McAllister down to 52, and Ardmore down to 56. Norman right in the middle once again with 54 degrees. Okay, for today it's just going to be a beautiful, near perfect afternoon, 77 degrees, winds out of the south 10 to 20. And for tonight, beautiful spring night, mild. If you want to go for a walk or go jogging, it's perfect. 54 degrees overnight. The winds will be out of the south 5 to 15. The winds are going to be on the increase. The next 2 to 3 days, we could see some gusts reaching 20 to 30 miles per hour by Saturday. Okay, like for Friday, 84, low of 54, sunny skies. The rain moves in towards Saturday. It'll be more towards Saturday night, not spoiling the afternoon plans. But we should see some good chance of severe weather Saturday night into Sunday morning. Temperature with the rain-cooled air will go down to 72 on Sunday. But Monday, we're going to start our warm-up. And after next Tuesday, about 7 days from now, we don't see any more rain after this event. And it looks to be quite warm the next 7 days.
Oh, it's going to travel on over to next week?
Yeah, all the way through next week. We haven't seen anything that's going to change our weather.
But we're not going to see any of that 102-degree weather.
No, we're not going to see any of that.
Thanks, Robert. Coming up on Norman Today's Sports. It was Bedlam in Norman last night at the Oklahoma softball complex. Terry Jones has the details next. Stay with us.
Hands need hands to help you see what lies ahead, what you want to be. Hands need hands, a hand to reach.
Kids today need extra help to stay in school. Communities and Schools brings Hands in Need together with hands that can help.
Training in the Army National Guard. When we move fast. When we train hard. If you're up to the challenge, we'll make it worth your while. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD.
Terry Jones joins us now with sports. Well, I hear there was a lot of action on the diamond last night in Norman.
You heard right.
Well, I heard it from you.
Yeah, then you heard right. It was a great time in Norman. You could go watch the OU baseball team play, and then you could just drive right down the street and watch the OU softball team, which had a big game. The University of Oklahoma softball team had everything going for them heading into their game with Oklahoma State on Wednesday. They're ranked in the top 10. They've won 3 out of the last 5 games, and most importantly, they had the game at the new Oklahoma softball complex. A record crowd of 1,153 fans witnessed a great game as the Sooners revenged an earlier loss to the Cowgirls, winning it 2-1. Lisa Carey made history, becoming the first player to hit a home run off the scoreboard at the new facility. Ashley Barrett homered as well, and Lana Moran picked up her 22nd complete game of the year. OU finishes the regular season this weekend with a doubleheader against conference leader Nebraska. Meanwhile, the OU baseball team is struggling with consistency. After taking 3 games from Kansas State, they lost to Arizona State. Then last weekend they traveled to Nebraska and got swept by the Cornhuskers in a 3-game series. On Tuesday, Missouri split a doubleheader with Coach Larry Cochel's squad. But on Wednesday, the Sooners pounded out 14 hits, 8 for extra bases as Oklahoma takes care of Missouri 14-3. Jeff Geary made his first relief appearance on the year and got the win. More importantly, though, OU moves into a 3rd-place tie with Oklahoma State in the Big 12 Conference. Texas Tech will host the Sooners in Big 12 action this weekend. In tennis, not only are the Oklahoma tennis teams good, they're smart. 6 Sooners were named to the academic All-Big 12 team yesterday. The women's team placed 5 Sooners on the first team. Kate Dunleavy, Luka Gorgay, Danielle Knipp, Kristen Guilford, and Viviana Morachnova all made the team. The men's representative on the first team was Rick Warren, who had a perfect 4.0. And the Norman North boys soccer team is undefeated and ranked number 1 in Oklahoma. In the final part of a 3-part series, I look at one of the players responsible for the Timberwolves' success. One of the players to look out for on the Norman North boys soccer team is Patrick Tanner. The sophomore forward is among the state's leaders in goals scored, and he is a member of the Region 3 team. Boys head coach Brian Young says Tanner has gotten where he is today because of his work ethic.
Patrick works harder than anybody else. He works for all of his goals, and he does an exceptional job. He's a great competitor, and that's what makes Patrick Tanner the soccer player that he is.
Coach Young says that Tanner makes his job easier because of his scoring ability, and there's no better example of that than when they went to Iowa to play in a tournament.
He scored first, Patrick did on a beautiful header, and then they get a penalty kick and tie the game, and then Robert Allison and Ronnie McCauley trip over each other, and the kid goes off, and we're down 2-1, and Patrick Tanner comes back and scores another goal, and we get out of there with a tie.
Right now, Tanner is suffering from injuries which have limited his playing time, allowing his teammate Shaylai Jawami to get ever so close to him in goals scored.
And I'm missing out on this game, so that's kind of hurting me.
Shay might pass you.
Yeah, he's got 2 more to score to get tied. So.
Is there a competition between you and him?
Not really. We just go out and play.
Who's better?
I'm not going to say.
Tanner says Coach Young pushes him and the team to do their best in everything they do.
I like him a lot. He does a lot for us, and he tries real hard to get us to college. And he's a great guy.
Tanner and the Timberwolves are next in action against Choctaw on Tuesday. Terry Jones, Norman Today Sports. A lot of people are surprised by the success Norman North has being their first year, but they're undefeated and ranked number 1. And the playoffs will start just here in the next few weeks, and we'll see how far they can go.
Okay, good job on your series, Terry.
Thank you very much.
Coming up next on Norman Today, more evidence that a tobacco company suppressed evidence surfaces. Stay with us.
This is who I am.
I am rich. I am poor. I am middle class. I am a boy.
I am a girl.
I am a girl.
This is who I am.
This is who I am.
I am from the city.
I am from the country.
This is who
I am. I know exactly what I want to do.
I know exactly who I want to be. I have no idea. No idea.
No idea what I want to do.
I have no idea
who I want to be. This is who I am.
No matter who you are or where you're from, the United States Air Force may be the place for you to learn, to grow, and to be successful in life. We can help you. You can help us.
I have potential.
I have potential. My future is unlimited.
I am somebody. I am somebody.
I am somebody.
How do you stop child abuse? Simple. Never let it start. Now there's a program that can help do just that. It's reaching new parents early on, teaching them how to cope with the stresses that lead to abuse. It's achieving unprecedented results. But we need your help. Imagine if we all pulled together what we could have. Call 1-800-CHILDREN today, because the more you help, the less they hurt.
I see her.
This is not a drill.
Roger, have target in sight.
This is what we do.
Swimmer away.
Every day in the Coast Guard. Battling the elements to save lives is just one of the real missions we tackle.
Swimmer checking victim. Coming up.
Be part of the action in the Coast Guard. Call now toll-free.
Welcome back to Norman Today. I'm Faith Johnson. And I'm Robbie Gunn. Lawyers for R.J. Reynolds Tobacco Company suppressed research on the hazards of smoking. Previously released documents show that tobacco companies knew their products were dangerous before the Surgeon General's warnings in the 1960s. The document suggests that industry lawyers controlled decades of tobacco research and attempted to sway the National Cancer Institute's nicotine investigations. The documents promise to add fuel to a Justice Department investigation of an alleged tobacco industry conspiracy to mislead the government. The House rejects a proposed constitutional amendment that would require a 2/3 vote of Congress to raise taxes. For the third year in a row, the House fell short of the 2/3 necessary for a constitutional amendment. Democrats say the proposal would reduce the federal spending deficit. Republicans say they relish the opportunity to cast Democrats as favoring tax hikes. While constitutional amendments are proposed frequently, Congress passed none last year. Computer hackers break into a Pentagon network, steal software for a military satellite system, and threaten to sell it to terrorists. The stolen software coordinates the military's global positioning system, which is used to target missiles. A Defense Department spokeswoman says the Pentagon's Defense Information Systems Agency is looking into the matter, but the stolen software does not contain classified information. A computer security expert warns that most intrusions tend to be far worse than the government acknowledges. A federal judge dismisses America Online as a defendant in a White House advisor's $30 million defamation suit. U.S. District Judge Paul Friedman rules that Internet service providers are exempt from the same laws that hold newspapers, magazines, and broadcasters accountable for information they carry. White House advisor Sidney Blumenthal and his wife sued AOL and an online gossip columnist for a report that said Blumenthal had a spousal abuse past. A grand jury that could possibly hear the JonBenet Ramsey case has been chosen. Jurors answered questions on what they knew about the investigation and the media, but the prosecutor has not publicly decided whether to present the case. A legal analyst says the jurors had to answer questionnaires and they were given closed-door interviews with the judge. The judge wants to prepare jurors for the high-profile Ramsey case. 12 jurors and 5 alternates have been selected to sit on the panel 1 day a week for 18 months. Paul McCartney's publicist says that Linda McCartney died in a place private to her, not in Santa Barbara, California. People magazine reported that McCartney died at the family's ranch in Tucson, Arizona. She had been suffering from breast cancer, which had spread to her liver. The family made a statement announcing her death. They did not specify where she died. The family only said that they were vacationing in Santa Barbara. McCartney's publicist Jeff Barker denies any reports that Linda McCartney's death had been assisted. Coming up in our final segment of Norman Today, although music may be in our soul, some researchers are saying that it has more to do with your brain. Stay with us.
When the heavens thunder, when the nation calls, you can make a difference and be a part of it all. You're able to pay the price, you can. Willing to sacrifice, you can. Adventure, helping service in the Army National Guard, you can.
Find yourself in the Army National Guard, serving 1 weekend a month and 2 weeks a year, and you'll find an extra paycheck, money for college, and all the adventure you can handle. It's a great way to serve your country and community. Call 1-800-GO-GUARD.
If you're ready to pass the test, you can. An American at your best, you can. Adventure helping service in the Army National Guard. In the Army National Guard, you can.
It's only a little motor oil.
What difference is one drop of paint gonna make?
This much fertilizer isn't gonna pollute anything.
You're looking at a sea of excuses, created drop by people like you and me. Our waters can be saved if each of us does their part. Drop by drop. If we all do a little, we can do a lot. Brought to you by the Natural Resources Defense Council, the EPA, and the Ad Councils of the U.S. and Japan.
My son Daku was riding a motorcycle when he was struck by a car. I had spoken to him previously about donating his organs, and it made it so much easier for me to make the decision. I knew that this is something that he wanted. I didn't have to feel guilty about making the decisions, doing something that he may not have wanted. Every day I tell people, talk it over. You must let people know what you want.
Musicians are often blessed with the gift of music, a natural ability to tune and maintain a rhythm better than those not musically inclined. Musicians have this ability because their brains are different from those of non-musicians. These musicians with the Atlanta Symphony Orchestra are practicing their performance, and while they're at it, they are also building part of their brains. Researchers from the University of Munster in Germany found that part of the brain involved in pitch, the auditory cortex, is 25% larger in musicians than non-musicians. That's because the earlier they start, the larger that part of the brain becomes. That means these budding musicians could end up with better skills than children who pick up an instrument at a later age. German researchers say that you need to begin practicing at age 12. Age 13 would be too late. It is because for some unknown reason, there appears to be dramatic change in brain circuitry at that age. Pretty nice weather, Robert. Just a little bit of rain sneaking in here.
Yeah, towards the weekend, but today we're seeing temperatures go up into the middle 70s. Tomorrow we can see temperatures go into the middle 80s. That's not bad at all, and what we're looking at is there's a storm system moving in on Saturday, probably moving in Saturday night after your afternoon plans and into Sunday morning, then clearing back out. But that's going to leave some cold air around with 72 degrees for that high on Sunday. Monday, 73 with some clouds around. And Tuesday, we're going to be going all the way back up to 77 and a little bit higher than that towards Wednesday and Thursday.
Okay, and Terry, anything going on in sports tonight?
Yeah, in case you didn't get enough action on the diamond last night with OU and with the baseball team and softball team playing, tonight Norman North has a doubleheader against Ardmore. Game times are 4:30 and 6:30 tentatively. And then tomorrow, if you have time, there's a chance you can go see the #1 Norman girls soccer team play and the #2 Norman boys team. They'll be in action tomorrow at Alcott Middle School, playing host to Putnam City.
Okay, thanks, Terry.
No problem.
Thanks for joining us.
help you see what lies ahead, what you want to be. Hands need hands, a hand to reach.
Kids today need extra help to stay in school. Communities and Schools brings hands in need together with hands that can help.